San Diego State, unfortunately, with the loss at Boise State, a nationally televised game, the second consecutive weekend, right, that San Diego State has lost on the road when playing on national television. This is probably their worst loss of the year, right? I mean, at BYU, at Grand Canyon. I know Grand Canyon is not a Mountain West school, but that is a very hard environment to play in. And at New Mexico, I mean, they're top 30 in the net, I believe. I saw that graphic today. Boise State here, they're a good team, 4-1 in conference, 13-5 overall, but that's a 5-loss team going into today's game. So maybe make the argument that Grand Canyon is a worse loss than Boise State. Maybe you make the argument that because they got blown out, and they weren't blown out today, they got blown out by New Mexico, that the New Mexico game was the worst loss of the year. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I see this as, hey, they're still undefeated at Viejas Arena. If they lose a couple of games in conference play the rest of the way, it's not going to set them back too much when it comes to the tournament. I don't think that they're going to be a 1 or a 2 seed, obviously, but I don't think that they're going to be a 8 or a 9 seed either. You know, I think there's a sweet spot there. And today, I mean, bottom line, they didn't shoot good enough from 3, I don't think. I mean, at one point, I think on the broadcast, they were saying San Diego State was 1 for 9 from 3. And Boise State had some guys that were on fire. Amar Stanley, he hit 3 threes in this game. I think he was perfect from beyond the arc. Former Johnny, by the way. And San Diego State, I mean, they need more. Like, it feels like there's a lot of reliance on Jaedon LeDee, obviously. And if you have one of the best players in the country like Jaedon LeDee is, of course you're going to be reliant upon. I mean, just like Purdue is reliant upon their best player, right? Who's looked at as the best player in the nation. You know, you have a really good player, yeah, you're going to be reliant on that guy. LeDee played 38 minutes today out of the 40. You know, like, he is taking a huge he has a huge burden on him, I guess. Is that the right way to put it this year? A lot of pressure on him to perform when it matters the most. And I don't want to say like it was a terrible game from LeDee. It just wasn't the game that we have been used to in terms of scoring from LeDee this season. And, you know, you look at the box score, Boise State had 4 guys in double-digit scoring. San Diego State had 2. LeDee was one of them. But it was not like his 20-10 game. He had 8 rebounds today. He only had 7 free throw attempts. Now, when LeDee only has 7 free throw attempts, usually he gets a lot of points from making free throws and getting to the line. He's good at getting to the line. He's not afraid to be in there and be physical, and that's just not really what happened today. And again, shooting needs to be better. I think that the Aztecs will tell you that. 6 for 24 from 3 today. Boise State, I mean, look, Boise State, they win by 1. And Reese Waters, Lamont Butler, shout out to them at the end of this game, making threes to stay in it. I mean, Lamont's 3, there was 1 second left on the clock when Lamont made it, and Boise wasn't, like, all they cared about was not fouling on that play, obviously, so it was kind of like whatever for them. But still, when you needed to make shots, at least to stay in the game there for a second, they were able to do that. But 1 point deficit ended up being this 1 point was the difference, and Boise State made 3 more threes than San Diego State did in this game. So that's where I point to. Let me know in the comments where you point to from this San Diego State loss, and we'll see if they can rebound. I mean, but they're still in a good spot. 15-4, 4-2 in conference. They haven't lost at Viejas. They've taken care of business in a lot of the difficult opponents for this season. And they get the opportunity to beat New Mexico at Viejas later this year. And we'll see what happens the rest of the way in Mountain West Conference play. Obviously, that win at Gonzaga, I think, should carry a lot of weight for San Diego State. They beat Stanford. I believe it was the game before that, obviously. They went into some tough environments, and you know, some of them, they haven't been able to come out with the win. But some of them, they've been competitive and neutral site games, getting wins there. So I think that they're in a fine spot. You just don't want, obviously, this loss against Boise State here, right? You don't want this to end up, you know, being a snowball effect, and then you turn this into a losing streak. So that's obviously, I think, the most important thing here. but I don't think this loss is the end of the world. A 1-point loss on the road against Boise State in what was a 10 o'clock San Diego time game. I mean, I don't think it's the end of the world.